All I ask is that you don't bang the table, because you could smack the CD. Good afternoon, everyone, and would you believe it? Welcome to the final Topic Time show of 2021. What a year it has been for Topic Time Nation. We have had some incredible shows. We've gone to places we've never gone before. We've done Zoom shows. I did my final one of those last night, but we've traveled the whole world. I've gone to Australia. I've gone to Athens, Greece. I've gone to New Mexico, and I've gone to local locations too when people couldn't make it down, to be with me on time as well. The guy last night had a little issue with his shoulder, so he couldn't drive in. But tonight, to finish up 2021, I have a phenomenal guest here, and we're going to get to her in a minute. In fact, I'm going to read her off as my first underwriter, and then we will commence with the show per usual. So, we have Ronnie Shaffer, Healing Arts Practitioner. She's my guest. Did you see this lovely lady right here? That's her.
Hi, nice to see you. We
got Master Phone Fix in Attleboro. They're a new one. We got Auto Town Auto Glass installed in Abington. We got Brighter Days Hair Salon in Taunton. We got Lynch's Towing Auto Cycle and Truck Center in Brockton, one number for towing, one number for projects. We got A1's Tire and Auto Center in Brockton, always in the market for new service techs and service office call takers. And we have Pro Tint Window, and they're in Brockton, and we have Pro Tint Window Tinting in Abington. We got a new one, Caribbean Breeze Tanning Salon in Norton. We got Comfort Upholstery in East Bridgewater. We got Britain Tire Service in Brockton. We got North New England Auto Works in North Attleboro. They're a new one. We got Hawkeye Fence with my pal Georgie Millette in Brockton. We got Vape Solutions in East Bridgewater. We got Manny's Auto Repair in Taunton. We got Omega Pizza in Rentham. They're a new one. We got Speedy Oil Change in Abington. We got the Gun Runner LLC in Middleborough, dedicated to your Second Amendment rights. We got Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We got Doggy Boutique, all beat professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next-door neighbor, Debbie Siddell in Brockton. We got Easton Fitness right in the Village Shops in Northeastern. We got Joe's Diner in Taunton. I want to thank you guys very much. And on that note, I will now introduce her personally, Ronnie Shaffer. Okay, yeah. Ronnie, I want to relate a personal story where she helped me out about 9 years ago. In fact, it was exactly 9 years ago. I had a terrible case of sciatica. I literally couldn't walk, without massive pain for like almost a month. And she took me into her health clinic, and she made me feel a lot better. But and she has a book that she wants to discuss as well, which I assume has a lot to do with that. She's a yoga practitioner as well. She's ageless, by the way. I don't know what her age is, but based on the year she graduated high school, which was 21 years before I did, I'd say she's certainly not old. And,
mature.
Right, exactly. Oh. All right, let me just push this down. Okay, so Ronnie, I want to thank you for coming up all the way from Abington, another 3 miles to be on my show tonight. I know we lucked out. The weather could have been a lot worse.
I know. I'm very grateful. Thank you for having me. It's always fun to be with you. As you said, we haven't met in a lot of years.
Right.
And I was honored to have you at the house, and I'm honored again to have you here this evening.
Yeah, and I'm honored as I am to have you. All right, well, Ronnie, what I do with every guest, regardless of what walk of life they're in, and yours is a pretty important one, because you do heal people and help, in spirit, both spiritually and physically, is I like to find out about what they were like as kids, profile them. So tell me about, now, you grew up in Altoona, Pennsylvania, right? You're not a New Englander, from
exactly.
Day one at Ad Hoc era at the beginning. You migrated.
Right. I grew up in Altoona and graduated from high school. And from high school, I went to Johns Hopkins Hospital.
That's in Maryland, right?
In Baltimore,
Maryland, yeah.
And trained as a radiologic technologist.
Okay, like to do X-rays?
X-rays.
Yep,
and,
okay.
So I had a long-time career, almost 40 years in radiology, spanning practically all over the country, and ended up the last 20 years of my career at Mass General Hospital doing CAT scan and MRI.
Oh, right, okay. In Mass General, and that was in what years were you doing that? Like in the 60s?
That was in the 70s, the late 70s, 80s, 90s, and then while I was at Mass General, I heard I had an interest in what we call Reiki, and I wanted to find out what that was about.
Okay.
And then that started my other journey into, we'll call it wellness, holistic medicine.
Right.
And from there, when I retired from Mass General, there were a lot of doors open, and as I say, they're open. Are we ready to walk through them? And I'm always one that's inquisitive, so I decide I walk through it and find out what's there for me and how best can I work and continue my work to help people, but in a different manner.
Right, exactly. And I know the Reiki profession well. As you know, my sister-in-law, Joanne, who had a show here for several years, too,
Right.
is a colleague, although, right, she's sort of matriculated. She now has a psychic worldwide web that a network that she reaches out to people all over the world and helps them, reach beyond the spiritual world to talk to their loved ones, I guess. I don't know how she learned that, but I know she's great at it. She does pretty well. But you're still doing Reiki now, right?
Right, I still do. I do Reiki, but I also, in the interim, I became certified as an associate polarity practitioner.
Polarity, what's that?
Polarity is working with the north and the south.
Okay, sure,
and the five elements.
Okay.
Okay, air, water, fire, earth, and ether. And so you combine. I do a lot of training.
Yeah.
Have done over the years, and then I did a 3-year healing certification with Elizabeth Stratton, it was really interesting because at that time, knowing that this was a practice that I wanted to pursue, we had to work with a therapist, and she wouldn't take us unless we were in therapy, because she said, if you're going to be working on other people, how good are you going to be? You better be working on yourself.
Okay.
So I worked with a therapist for over 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, now let me see if you never got a degree in psychology in any of the
No.
schools you went to?
Nope.
What if you had gotten a degree in psychology? Would that have made a difference, or did you actually have to work with a therapist during the years that you were doing Reiki?
Oh, yeah, you
Wow.
you don't have to, but she was insistent in the deep work that we were going to do, the healing work,
Okay.
that she thought it was important that we work on ourselves. And you know what? It was probably where my life took a dramatic change, where I really, working in healthcare, most people, we're nurturers.
Right.
But we forget to nurture ourselves.
Okay.
And so...
I can imagine it must be stressful at
Absolutely.
times. Yep.
So working with a therapist, you begin then to work on yourself and nurture yourself, and what are your needs that you really haven't met them
Okay.
over all those years. So that was really beneficial.
Okay, but when you say met your own needs, you mean, almost like...
Your emotional needs.
Yeah,
How do we fulfill our emotional needs? We're busy out here, but we forget to come in here and take care of ourselves.
Right, I understand. Like you can't, the old school of thought is, and it makes perfect sense. You can't heal a sick person if you're sick as well. Is that what you mean? Okay, is that what they meant? Okay, no, that makes sense, I guess. All right, and all the time that like I said, I had a terrible case of sciatica 9 years ago, and you worked on me at your house, and I definitely felt a lot better. It was just one session. But you were good. You knew what you were doing. Yeah.
Well, you know what, and it's so interesting, Harrison, because when people come, sometimes you can come with a back pain, but somebody else, you can come with a back pain, and their back may not be better, but there might be another portion or another layer of them that got healed. You know, so it's like, what is the origin of the pain?
Right.
And where does it come from, and what does it stem from? And that's, what you try to work with that person on multi-levels so that they can connect with that and and heal themselves, because you hear that old saying, heal or heal thyself.
Right, I do know that saying.
Okay.
I know how helpful our human bodies can be. If we treat them well, they'll treat us well too.
Exactly.
If someone who has had asthma for 50 years, and I also have a little arthritis too. And, I'm okay. I'm pretty healthy right now. I'm 62. I'm not, and I work out every day, and I feel pretty good. And I don't take. But the thing is, I used to take a lot of meds for my asthma, and I don't need them anymore because I've learned how to live a lifestyle that's conducive to breathing healthily. And which includes eating at the right time of day, not too much at the wrong time of day, and a lot of that was a problem for me back in the old days, because I'd eat late at night, and my acid reflux would compound in my esophagus and cause me to have really bad breathing issues, and that included even a bout with pneumonia when I was 44, and I was pretty scared back then too. And now with the virus, I mean, even with the virus, I feel pretty good. I mean, we've been through it. We know what's happening everywhere, unfortunately. But I mean, I've managed to. I mean, let's face it. If those of us that survive it should get to wear a T-shirt that say we did it in whatever way we did it, because it's a pretty big accomplishment given the harshness of the situation, obviously, of the reality. So
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's important. You said something that's really important. It's changing your lifestyle. And that's in all facets of our life.
That's
and
right.
it sounds easy, but when we've been geared,
Right.
we gear energetically our bodies one way.
That's right.
And our minds, then it's not easy. So I always say if we take one step at a time, and along that road, we look for help.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like come for Reiki, do yoga, watch what you eat. I think eating, the diet is really a big key.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I'm a vegan too.
Okay.
And I've been a vegetarian for like 40 years almost. It'll be
Okay.
next summer. It'll be 40 years. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. And when it comes to yoga, you still do yoga instruction?
Yep.
Okay.
I help and
okay.
assist at Massasoit at the Massasoit Community College.
Yeah. Okay. You have a class there, or you actually you help people do yoga there. You have like a sessions. Okay.
I'm a substitute teacher there.
Okay.
But I also am certified as a yoga teacher in doing one-on-one.
Okay.
It's called yoga therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that's a big thing for you. And how long have you been doing that for?
Oh, I've been doing yoga for like over 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know, I mean, it's funny, when I was a kid, I was heavy and I had a hard time losing weight, and I was concerned that as an adult I'd be overweight, and I'm certainly not now. And a lot of
Right.
it, I mean, it took me decades to change my lifestyle and get the results I wanted. But one of the things that was encouraged to me when I was about 12 or 11 even was to try yoga, because they say, okay, if you can do yoga, it's great exercise. But what I saw at the time was that the positions that you had to get in to do it, or at least were positions that at least I was unable to assimilate them. I couldn't,
Right.
bend my legs back over my head or any of that stuff. And
And that's you just brought up another good point. Your teacher is key.
Right,
It isn't about
okay.
the yoga, the word yoga. It's your teacher, and they usually ask you any limitations. But if you do a good yoga stretch class,
right.
everybody should be able to do it.
Okay, that means make yourself more flexible.
Exact. And you'll learn to be more flexible. We can't always just, put our head down and put our legs up in the air. But there's something for everyone. I remember years back, my grandson who borders Asperger's, autism.
Me too.
And he has some cognitive, disabilities.
Okay.
He was in 4th grade. He has a twin sister who is fine.
Okay.
And I used to go, this was in Sudbury, to Sudbury School, and for a half hour once a
Did
week.
you say Sudbury?
Uh-huh.
In the town of Sudbury?
In town of
Okay,
Sudbury.
yep,
And I used to teach the 4th graders, his class,
yep.
yoga. And we did different positions, and I'd say, here's a cat, and here's a cow, and here's a.
Oh,
this.
okay, you made it fun for him by
Fun
doing
for them.
animal.
And it was interesting because
recreations, yep.
he would sit on the peripheral.
Yep.
And by about a month into the class, he began to move in closer, and then he began to join the class.
Oh, cool. Okay, so basically it was a double-pronged effect. That it helped him be flexible and it helped him be more interactive with the other students.
More interactive, and
Okay.
and feel that he could be included and part of.
Right, because I know what it is. I have autism too, and the fact that I can do this show is pretty cool.
That's excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, for decades I used it as an excuse to fail. Now I use it as a stepping stone to very good success. And it's taken me, like I said, it's taken me decades to get to that plateau.
Uh-huh.
And I never thought I'd even do it. But I look at life as a series, and you may agree with me, a series of of steps to be taken or not taken, and eventually
That's exactly right.
it's almost like putting a puzzle together. And if you stay with it, which we do, we eventually reach goals that we never would have seen coming, and even just a few short years ago.
Exactly. And you know what? The whole thing also comes down to the will to want to change.
Right.
If you have the will, then the change will come.
That's right, because we are creatures of habit. There's no
We
question
are.
about it. And change is very difficult. But like, you know, I mean, the other thing is, like, I also gave up smoking weed in 1979, so I've been clean for 42 years. After having, you know, been a regular pot smoker for 5 years as a teenager, the way I look at it is also, if you have a vice is like a chain. So if you break
Of
one
course.
link, if you do it something every day, then it's broken. Then you don't have to do it anymore. I've stopped for one day, and now it's been 42 years.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
used to smoke. It was
There
a
you
big
go.
deal. It was a big deal in my era, particularly people in the medical profession. We all smoked.
That's incredible.
I mean, I used to think we used to smoke on the floor. We used to smoke.
Nurses, doctors.
Yeah, everybody.
amazing.
Everybody had a cigarette in their mouth. And it was to have that will to want to stop. And like you say, you know, even the AA premise of one day at a time.
Right.
You know, you don't look at how am I going to be 6 months from now? How am I today?
Right, and if, like I said, you can break it. If you can do something,
Yeah.
if you can stop one vice that you do every day, then it's pretty much gone.
Exactly.
It can, you know, it can be. All I know is it worked for me. So tell me about, now you had a radio show at WATD, and I got my start there in broadcast media in 2005 with Ed Perry, one of the
Oh, I
coolest
love
dudes
Ed.
around, you know, obviously. So tell me about what you did there.
Well, I had a show, oh my heavens, about 10, 12 years ago.
Okay.
And so the
Well, I remember that. Your Sunday afternoons?
no, this was on Saturday mornings.
Okay.
From 10 to 10:30 or 10:30 to 11.
Okay.
And then the opportunity came this year to do a half-hour show once a month.
It is ATD or one of the other stations?
No, WATD.
Okay,
We did the
okay.
WATD. And so I would talk about, you know, I also do numerology, I do numbers.
Oh, cool.
And so I'd allow people the opportunity to call in and I'd quick do their numbers and see what was going on for them for their personal year.
Right.
And I'd talk about current events, you know, like what's going on astrologically, what's going on, and have people feel comfortable to share what's going on with them.
Right.
So I did that from January to July, so 6 months.
Oh, in 2021?
2021, yeah.
Why did you stop? Why did you stop? You were having a good time and you were getting a lot of calls.
Well,
Was it just
yeah.
too busy?
No, the opportunity, you know, it's all about advertising.
Okay.
And, you know, the person that I was working with, we didn't have the advertisers.
Okay.
And, you know,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's expensive to do radio.
It's quite expensive to do a radio show.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. But, well, I
But
mean.
I did it 6 months and it was fun. And if the opportunity, you know, it can present it. This is the second time it presented and it worked for me at that time.
Right.
And who knows what will happen
Yeah.
later
In
on.
the meantime, you still have your other things going on.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm busy. And then, you know, I did work with women in prison.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell me about that. That sounds fascinating.
You know, that's probably one of the dearest things to my heart. I had, you know, like you said, you had that call or a feeling that I wanted to do, when I retired from Mass General, I wanted to do something to give to the community. And
Yeah.
I thought, what about doing yoga and meditation with women in prison?
Okay.
And the first thing was I had no idea that it is not easy to get into a prison, even though it's a volunteer. Particularly with yoga and meditation, you have to go back to the early 2000s.
Right.
Okay? And I tried everywhere, and there was no response. I even tried Framingham, and they said they were worried about what the taxpayers going to say. I said, "Say it's free. I'm offering."
Wow.
So, as we say, there's never a coincidence. I was at a party.
Everything happens for a reason.
I was at a party, and a woman was sitting next to me, and she said, "What do you do?" And I told her, and I asked her what she did, and she said, "I work in a prison." I said, "Well, let me tell you." And she said, "Here's the number of my supervisor. Call her." I called her the next day, and I said I wanted to present yoga. At that time, yoga was not in the prison. It had not been accepted.
Okay.
And she said, "Can you change yoga and meditation, the words?" I said, "Yes." I called it stretching and guided imagery,
Okay.
and I was in.
Sweet. And what prison was that? Not Framingham, or was it somewhere?
No, it's the one going uptown, in town on 90, is it 95, 93?
No, I've never been in a prison
Boston.
before.
If you see,
I'm happy to say.
well, if you see the sign that says the Boston Food Bank,
Oh, okay.
right next to that, it's a male prison.
It's a guy prison, wow.
Well,
You're talking about, is that in Massachusetts?
Yeah, that's right across from the BU Medical Center.
Oh, in Boston, okay.
Okay, it's a male prison,
Yep,
but because the top 2 floors are dedicated to the females for the
so
overflow.
it's a co-ed prison then?
So, yeah, well, except, there's the restrictions.
Right, okay.
And so I would go in there once a week, and I did it for 5 years.
Wow.
And you know what? They also were my teachers.
Okay, I got to ask you quickly,
Yeah.
weren't you scared?
No.
Okay. I mean, just, with the atmosphere didn't overwhelm you at all when you...
Now, you know what? I always say, over my years' experience of working in an emergency room,
Yep.
nothing scares you.
Really?
You're ready for everything.
Well,
the only thing is, there were
okay.
such restrictions. I had to, if I was bringing a CD in, I had to get that approved, pre-approved. Everything had to be pre-approved. And after a while, after a couple of years, they knew that,
Okay.
I was
you were-
fine.
Oh, good. Okay.
Everything was okay.
You don't look like you're slipping in to help anyone escape.
Right.
Right. But then again, they
But
wouldn't
then
expect
again,
anyone to look like that.
But then again, they thought, I think yoga was some kind of a cult.
Okay.
And I might be having them flying out the windows, whatever.
Oh, I know. So was it just one prison, or were there more than one that you worked at?
Well, then I did, after 5 years, then I did Norfolk.
Oh, okay, Norfolk.
In
That's a
writing,
tough one. I
creative
understand.
writing.
Yeah.
There was a
Oh,
big
cool.
creative writing group in Boston,
Okay.
and we used to go in on a Saturday, and we do creative writing with the men. I enjoyed it, maybe because I started with the women first.
Right.
I felt that was easier,
Okay.
but the men were also very interesting. And, in a male prison, it's not easy for men to express their feelings, their emotions. So in
It isn't? Okay.
No. Well,
They do it with violence, don't they?
well, but it's a different, the inner,
I understand what
the
you're saying.
caring,
Right.
the nurturing. And so working with them through writing allow them the opportunity to bring out some deep stuff, and
Yeah.
look at what's going on.
Did you really deal with the hardened criminals?
Yeah,
Wow.
those were lifers.
Yeah, yeah.
The women were, we'll say, probably 2-3 years. I didn't have lifers there because those were all in Framingham.
Yeah.
These were kind of the overflow.
I've seen Chronicle did a feature on the women in Framingham prison. I saw it.
Uh-huh.
It looked. A lot of those women were in for drug offenses, or
A lot of them, my opinion, a lot of them I think belonged in rehab.
Right. Exactly.
And then when I went in, the women were color coded. So
What does that mean?
So that meant if you were purple,
Oh,
you
okay.
could be immigration
Oh, I see.
offenses. If you were pink, you could be felonies.
Okay.
Okay. If you were yellow, it could be rehabs.
Okay. Yep.
Addictions.
Right.
So everything was color coded,
Interesting.
and I was not allowed to give them my last name. They only were allowed my first name. They could not know where I lived, or
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And they could share if they wanted to, and most of the time they didn't. Sometimes they did. And one of the things that stuck out with me one day was I was getting ready to do a class, and a young gal said, "Oh, no, you have to wait. Don't close the door. My mother's coming." And I said, "No, we're not allowed to have visitors come in." Her mother was an inmate also.
Oh, my goodness.
Mother and daughter.
Okay. Well, so I guess it turned out okay for the class for you two,
Oh,
right?
it
You
was,
three.
sure, but they were both inmates.
Wow.
But just to see a mother and daughter both in jail, you wonder what's the history and what will the history continue to be?
Well, Ma Barker and her kids, remember that old Western tale, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Wow. Okay, well, that's good. You've really been dealing with people in the rough end of the spectrum.
Well, but on the other hand, I've had college graduates. I had a girl from
Yeah,
Harvard.
both ends of the spectrum.
All kinds. It's
Right.
In today's world now.
Yeah.
There probably isn't someone in your family that you don't know or has been that in prison. in my era growing up, we were lucky if we knew the first name of a policeman. Do you know
Okay.
what I mean?
Right. Now
But
we all
it's-
know them. We
but
know them
now
all.
we know them all.
Right.
And it's a whole different era.
It is. It's true.
But it's sad.
It's a smaller world with all, with the technology as well. You can reach out to a lot more people, and that's a good thing.
And having seen this, I can see when they say the prisons are overcrowded. They are.
Of course they are.
They, as I said, rehab would be much better for a lot of them, filter out some things. But it was a wonderful experience. I'll tell you, it got me to the point that I had to sit down and I had to write a book about it.
Well, that's good. And we got, guess what? We're down to the final 5 minutes. So I want you, in that time, give us a real quick synopsis of the book. Hold it up and.
It's I Hear You Cry, Women in Prison.
Okay.
And it's a story not only of my younger years, where I felt in prison. We don't have to have physical bars.
Right,
we
true.
can have emotional bars.
Well, I know. I've been there.
Exactly. And how do we free ourselves, whether it's the emotional or the physical bars, to free ourselves to begin a new life and to really get out there and be part of the world and enjoy what you have.
Well, that's great. All right. Well, Ronnie, listen, I want you to, like I said before we started, look at the camera and give shouts out to people that are going to see the show. Condense them. You can start with your husband and family members, and then we'll wrap it up with, with my music.
Okay. And
Want to make one more comment about the book? Sure.
If you're interested in the book, you can get it through barnesandnoble.com, or they can order it, and I think it's still on Amazon. It's I Hear Your Cry, Women in Prison.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get the graphics on the screen when we do the editing.
Okay.
All right.
sure.
So go ahead. Give some shouts out to
I'm going
people.
to shout out to my husband, Ed Shaffer, to my son, Alan Palmer, Michelle Palmer from Laurel Grove in Wellesley and Sudbury, and my other son, Ray Palmer in Pennsylvania, and my daughter, Kathy Palmer, and to Maureen Spencer, Joanne Young.
My sister-in-law.
Absolutely.
Greatest ever.
Hi, Joanne. And Mary Rangel, and all my other friends, all those that, Susan Andrea, that I've been really blessed to have in my life. So
That's awesome. I hope you had fun with me.
I had a great time. I can't thank you enough for being here. I really enjoyed this, and
Same here. All right.
we'll meet again.
One more thing before we wrap it up. If you have any people that you know that are interesting, have interesting stories to tell, you have my digits, have them text me, and get them on the show. That's how it works.
Absolutely. That was another one, Jill Jardine. She's an astrologer, so.
Fine. You have my phone number. You can get my phone number's open to the public. Just give it away and tell
Okay.
them we want you on your show. We'll set
Perfect.
it up.
Love to.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Great job. And I want to wish everyone a happy new year. 2022 is going to be the best year for Topic Time ever. And we'll see you next year. And have a great one. And on we travel. Take care. Bye-bye.